Okay, we're a few minutes after 9 o'clock on the Pacific Coast time, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time that made it on already. We can kind of dive in and get some of the housekeeping activities out of the way. Like I said, thank you all for coming and making the time today. We'll be discussing large-scale distribution events, kind of dive into the use cases as well as some recommendations from our previous experiences. This presentation will be recorded and transcribed. It will be posted to the ACF website, I believe, within a couple weeks of today. So feel free to follow up and share there as necessary. My name is Justin Van Zerber. I think I know everyone on the call, so it's wonderful to see everyone. I'm the Director of Programs with supplybank.org. I have my colleague Christian Browning on the call as well. She will be managing the chat for this presentation, as well as is supplybank.org's point of contact for training and technical assistance. I think you all are familiar with Christian as well, and thanks for being here, Christian. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Justin.
Wonderful. So diving right in, here's a high-level overview of the topics that we'll go through today. The objective is to discuss the use case of large-scale distribution events and some recommendations on how to make the most out of the event. Some of these topics will be super pertinent to the work that you are doing, while others may not align with your goals. So be patient as we walk through this, make notes and raise questions as needed. We're here to kind of give specific guidance to you. This presentation was cultivated kind of as an overarching approach to the necessary steps that are needed to be taken in order to be successful in large-scale distributions. So if you have specifics that you want to dive into, raise the question in chat or raise your hand and we can address them. Additionally, I'm sure you all are aware, but supplybank.org is available for one-on-one consultation, whether that's with your organization or some of your sub-grantees. So if there's a specific topic, again, that you want to discuss a one-on-one, please reach out to Christian. Her email is christian@supplybank.org, and she can set up a time for us to chat. So just high level, large scale distributions are aimed at serving a large amount of people or distributing a large number of items during one period of time. These events can be leveraged with other projects in the community to make a more profound impact, and if done correctly, can minimize the amount of staff time required to distribute all of the resources. Most times, these events are targeted to certain groups, so this can offer you the opportunity to invite wraparound service providers or other partners who provide services to vulnerable populations. And this encourages enrollment and participation in their programs as well. We found this tool to be a very powerful way to encourage additional enrollment in new programs. Opening up the distribution in a large setting also makes people feel comfortable who might not want to come to a specific office or location. When participants see a large amount of people participating, it can help to reduce stigma and have them focus on the actual resources available. This is a great way to get your organization and partner organizations' names out in the community and to make participants feel like they're part of something larger. This is an excellent way to blend distribution of diapers with other items such as food, information, and other basic needs. Beyond being able to serve a large number of people, can anyone share other reasons you might want to host an event like this? Oh, wonderful, Nafia. Thank you for sharing. Wonderful. Yeah, we did a bunch of similar events during COVID as well. That's one of the answers to the question here is safety precaution. Early on in COVID, people were unfamiliar with transmission. And so in order to increase safety of staff and participants, hosted a lot of outdoor events in that light. One other answer may be storage constraints. We know that a lot of organizations are working with limited space at their CAAs or partnering agencies. And so this is an opportunity to uh, encourage a large amount of participation and thus a lot of diapers going out all at one time. It can be used as a promotion opportunity or to highlight press. If you're doing a kickoff event, this is a great way to raise awareness for the larger community and to promote your organization. Another one is just an energy builder. We found that when we host large scale distributions, there's a lot of positive energy brought in from staff, from participants, and from the larger community. So if you're trying to kind of boost the energy or morale within your organization, this is a great opportunity as well. There are a few considerations that will help you decide if this type of event is a good fit for your organization. Thinking about the number of people you want to serve and the number that will actually participate is the first item. You want to make sure that the time and energy you are going to put into this event is going to be fruitful. If it is determined during the larger planning process that a smaller number of people are able to attend, it may be beneficial to revisit the idea and explore other types of distribution interventions. When deciding on the number of people to serve, you will need to decide on eligibility requirements. We'll talk more about some of the other considerations with regard to eligibility later in the presentation. Location and accessibility will need to be at the forefront of all decision making. We want to make our community members' experience as easy as possible. This includes thinking about the location of the event and ensuring that it's accessible by car, bus, train, etc. Choose a location that is easily identifiable so people will not get lost. Additionally, make signs to help point participants in the right direction. If the event is being held indoors, making sure the area is ADA compliant so all people are able to participate. If the location is open to the public, you'll need to think through steps to mitigate unwanted foot traffic. Due to the size of these events, they are most likely held outside. This can be done in a parking lot, a park, or a school. There may be a cost or application associated with use, so plan well in advance to get these details sorted out. We recommend reaching out to partner agencies and getting creative with trying to find the best location. Each location will have its own requirements in order to host an event like this, so it is vital to have this secured before moving through the next planning steps. The next major implication on the design of the event is the inclusion or exclusion of partner agencies. If you plan to include them, discuss the gaps in your organization's services and which local partners can aid the populations you are serving. This is a great way not only to strengthen the services you provide to your participants, but can also be used to strengthen the organization's relationship with partner agencies. Some of the layered services that can be included, like Nafia noted, is clothes, food, parenting supplies, school supplies, etc. Additionally, they can be used to help with enrollment into school, various community programs, and even parenting classes. So you have a high level idea of how many people you want to serve, where you're going to host, and which partner agencies are going to be invited. Now let's dive into the nitty-gritty of topics that need to be sorted out during the planning process. The length of the event as well as the time of day will both have impacts on the number of people who can attend. We recommend you try to estimate the amount of time it takes for a participant to interact with each station and determine the number of people assisting at each station to estimate how long it will take one participant to go through the process. If you're trying to serve 200 people and only have the event open for 1 hour, it is not likely you will be able to serve everyone. Setting realistic expectations will allow you to not feel overwhelmed and for community members to arrive when it best fits their schedule. Being cognizant of the time of day and day of the week, as not everyone is able to attend in the morning or evening. So making accommodations for those who reach out and not and are not able to attend is vital as well. When planning the first event, it might be helpful to decide if this is a one-time event or something that will be happening on a reoccurring basis. If you decide on a reoccurring event, how often will it be held? If it is held more frequently than participants are able to receive diapers, you'll also have to think about a checklist to reduce participants from receiving multiple allocations in their allotted period of time. The number of staff will depend on the number of participants and the number of different stations that you have. Ensure people are prepared for what is needed to be accomplished. We recommend making detailed job responsibilities for each of the roles: check-in, sizing, survey, connecting to wraparound services, etc. The clearer the directions are, the smoother the event can run. Creating a question and answer and making sure everyone on site has a specific task will help with this structure. We will provide a sample of job descriptions that can be used as part of our collateral pieces that we're sharing with ACF. We hope to have those available sometime in April. If you would like access to them in advance, please reach out and we can try to support. Staff ultimately will have relationships with some of the participants. You'll want to create time and space for them to step away and interact without holding up the entire line. This will require a floating role in order to cover anyone who is unable to manage their station because they're interacting with a specific participant. Additionally, breaks are required by law. If your event is more than a couple hours, you will need to consider coverage for staff who need to step away for any type of break. This is a great opportunity for staff to bond and be reminded of the impact of the work that they do. Try to celebrate them with food or a special note might help to boost morale. If the event will utilize volunteers, they will also need specific tasks, but these should be a little more simple but also making them feel valued. You do not want to put a volunteer in a high-stress situation as they may feel overwhelmed and not want to volunteer with your organization again. This may require a staff member to manage and recruit volunteers. This staff member should also be available on the day of to assist with greeting volunteers in advance of the event and calling to remind them that they are scheduled to help. There also may be liability issues about which tasks volunteers can help with, so consulting with your controller for advice will help minimize risk. Unfortunately, stockouts of certain sizes will happen. Making a plan of action for this ahead of time will make decision-making easier in the moment. We usually recommend one of two options, allowing the participant to take a larger size if inventory is available, or asking them to return on a specific day to your office. Make sure that the day you're asking them to return will be after another delivery of inventory so that you are ensured that their sizes will be available. A side note is you might want to incentivize them by offering to give them 2 times the distribution if they meet you in that office. This will allow the participant to feel valued as well as heard. During these events, there is a lot of energy, and most times agencies spend the majority of their time thinking about everything but the cleanup. Making these responsibilities as part of the staff or volunteer roles will help everyone understand the day is not complete until everything is packed up and ready to go. There are many considerations here, and plans should be developed based on all scenarios, including but not limited to no one showing up, a few people, too many people showing up, etc. How do these scenarios affect your next steps with inventory? How do they affect follow-up communication and your ability to host future events? Just reading through Nafia's note here. Great, wonderful. So highlighting the impact it can make for the awareness of the organization and the introduction of other agencies who they may not have known before. In this slide, we will discuss the design of the actual site. Safety is the number one priority here, as gathering many people in the same location can be a bit unruly if there are not clear directions for everyone participating. The first item to think about is entrance and exits. We recommend having people all enter from one side and flow through the entire distribution in one direction. If necessary, there can be stop points for people to be pulled aside if additional time is needed with that individual. This approach will allow you to monitor the number of people who are in line and can help if you run out of resources to be able to estimate where the cutoff should be so no new participants are allowed to enter. Additionally, exits should be clearly marked as well, and try to set up some type of barrier so people cannot enter from that location. When we have worked on distributions with partner agencies and childcare centers, we found cars or a drive-through event can save a lot of time, as a car can pull right up to the event and can be loaded. This is usually done when a partner agency is receiving many items at once. We also are more familiar with doing individual or family distributions, and these traditionally have been walk-up events, as it reduces the need for a car and makes everyone feel included regardless of how they arrived. Depending on eligibility requirements, the check-in process has the opportunity to be the longest time commitment and can cause backups. Thinking about the number of people you are trying to serve and how long it will take them to go through that process will help you determine the number of staff and volunteers necessary at that station to have it run smoothly. Thinking through scenarios if this will be done on a paper list or electronically. Sometimes these stations need electronics or Wi-Fi, making sure this is all available before confirming your approach. As we're all aware, one of the requirements of this project is to collect data. This is much harder to do at large-scale events, so coming up with an approach that either reduces the amount of time someone has to spend filling out the survey on site or allows them to fill it out at another time. Maybe the distribution event is only open to people who have already participated in data collection or you already hold a relationship with. This could eliminate this step from the overall event. Paper surveys are easier to manage at these type of events, but will require staff to input the data at a later date and can lead to errors. We recommend that the data collection process happens before someone has access to the resource, as they may leave immediately after if they're asked to fill out a survey after receiving diapers. If this event is specifically for diapers, the individual should be able to fill out the necessary paperwork, collect that item, and depart. We obviously want to have an added layer of benefit, but ensuring that the reason the person attended the event is at the forefront of their tasks allows them to leave and feel comfortable knowing they weren't coerced into something else. During this time, you want to have other staff available just to chat about those additional resources that they may be privy to. Creating a space and providing them additional information following the actual distribution will reduce backups at the front of the line. What I mean by this is you don't want to bombard people at the beginning once you've identified they would be eligible for other resources. You want them to continue to flow through the process, receiving their items and chatting with staff at appropriate times. So creating space and creating a location for that to happen is really important. If other basic material needs are also being met, Think about how a family will carry these items home, and this will allow you to think through which items should come first. For example, if you're handing out clothes and they have opportunity to get a bag with that process, that might be stationed first so they can put the rest of the items in the bag. The size of your space will help determine how many people can be served at one time. You do not want to bombard any station, so taking steps to have a consistent flow of people is helpful. One approach we have found success is to use a ticket to invite participants back at a certain time. This will allow for registration before the event starts and can assist with not having too many people during a certain window of time, but spreading them over a large period of time. We found this really successful in neighborhood events or small community events where participants are not traveling large distance in order to interact with the activity. If you're doing this more as a county or regional approach, the ticketing process might not be as successful as people just want to come, stand in line, and depart. But the goal here is to minimize that standing in line, minimize people waiting around while items are getting set up or they're following in line behind other participants. These events can be really fun. Planning with that in mind will also help make this a reality. Some ideas to elevate the experience include music, activities for the kids, hair cutting, face painting, characters, etc. Think about how you can include these activities so it makes the waiting period feel shorter, but also does not impact the flow of the distribution. These activities should be placed outside of the registration and distribution area when possible. Now it's time to get the word out. The way that this will be successful is by communicating through as many mediums as possible. Making sure communication is accurate and includes all of the requirements that might be necessary to participate, poverty level, participation in another program, etc. I'm sure you're all well aware the use of flyers, word of mouth, through case managers, through partner sites, etc. We also want to utilize social media if you are opening this up to a larger demographic of people. One benefit of social media is that you can pay to have a targeted approach to certain identifying factors. This may increase the likelihood of new participants, whether that's in a certain area or neighborhood, or similar specific likes that they may have. One consideration is if you want to include media. This can be done in several ways. One, helping to raise awareness of the event if it is open to the public. You can send a press release to have local media share in advance of the event. Depending on the population you are serving, you could invite them to attend the event to learn more about the program. If you end up inviting the press, we recommend having a scheduled time for them to attend in advance of the participants. You could host a small press conference to highlight the partnerships and the impact that this work has on the community. Now to the day of. I'm someone who really likes to create goals and share them, and I recommend you doing that as well. This can be done with staff and volunteers alike. They should be simple and remind everyone why they are investing in this project. This seems rudimentary, but it really helps with intentionality. And when the event gets busy and people may be tired, this can assist them to getting over that hump. In the next slide, we'll discuss some of the common barriers to this type of event, but always consider what would never happen. This will make sure you will not miss situations and have a plan of action for anything that could arise. It is helpful to have multiple people know the ins and outs in case someone gets sick or has an emergency. you ever heard of the phrase, make a backup plan for a backup plan? This is the recommendation here. If you have several hundred people coming to one location, you want to make sure that all of these considerations are thought through. With a lot of people, there is hustle and bustle causing noise. If there's important information that needs to be shared, thinking through how you gather everyone's attention. If the information can be shared in small groups or via paper. Additionally, this can be a great way to raise energy. Having people participate in a call and response, or even making them aware of milestones, for example, we just distributed 10,000 diapers, really makes people feel like they are part of something bigger. And lastly, enjoy. These events take a lot of planning and energy, so reflect during the day and take it all in. If anyone is an Office fan, I think back to Pam and Jim's wedding when they remind each other to take a mental photograph of different moments throughout the day. So the day has come. It was a large success. And here are some recommendations on some next steps for you and your organization. Your approach to data collection at the event will determine how much time is required for organizing that data after the event. We discussed paper surveys, but those will require some time and that data will not be able to be accessed immediately. Following up after the event is also a great time to review how data can be shared across departments or with other partners to help participants getting connected to those other resources in the community. After your data is sorted, making a plan of action with participant follow-up. Will there be specific case managers who are targeting specific groups who showed up? What is your approach? And how do staff know who they should be communicating with? You may have had many new participants, so it's important to contact them as soon as possible to remind them of the resource and any other steps you recommended that they take. We always recommend a feedback session, both internally and externally when possible. You want to grab a few staff members who are involved in different parts of the event to gauge their overall experience and to understand how it helped or didn't help further the organization's mission. If possible, distributing a survey, hosting a roundtable, or even gathering anecdotal information from participants will help improve your process and future distributions. Learning from the participants will help you create a community-centered approach to the event. Laying out next steps around improvement and timeline for future events. This first event will take the longest amount of time to plan, so what information can you repurpose and use again for the next event? I wanted to discuss some barriers because I think through the conversation that I've presented before, we've only talked about the successes and the value it brings to the organization and the community. But I really want to dive into some of the limitations that may arise. When you promote an event like this, most time individuals and families will show up who may not be eligible. It's important to have a plan of action on how those individuals will be accommodated. Will they immediately be removed from the initial sign-in process, or will they be treated like everyone else and at a certain step in the flow, they'll be pulled aside to have a conversation? These people have taken time out of their day to attend the event. So try to identify resources that may have less eligibility requirements so they don't just walk away empty-handed. Similar to other presentations, making sure there's a buffer to accommodate for these situations will ensure all attendees feel like it was a worthwhile day to attend. Weather is always hard to predict, so taking some time to plan for unexpected events can reduce a lot of future stress. One approach is to put a rainy day clause on the invitation. For example, if the rain or snow or inclement weather happens on the day of the event, it will be rescheduled for the next Tuesday. Consider having another space available nearby that you could redirect individuals to if bad weather happens. And lastly, communicate. Creating a communication approach reduces the number of people who will show up if the event needs to be rescheduled or canceled. As we get more familiar with diaper programming and distributions, we are well aware of the amount of space these items take up. This is something that will need to be addressed in the planning process, as well as you will need to have a large enough space to hold all of the diapers, and other resources for all the individuals you want to serve on that day. Thinking back to the previous barrier, it's also helpful to plan for bad weather and try to have enough staff and volunteers on site who can help with whatever changes need to be. Scheduling a delivery for the morning of the event so offloading does not happen twice sounds wonderful, but in practice is quite tricky to guarantee. Whenever possible, we try to get resources on site at least the day before the event to minimize any risk of a late or missed delivery. With large scale events, this takes a bit more planning as more staff will need to be on site with the organization to help with offloading. Inventory management is extremely important before this event. You want to make sure that the correct inventory for everyone who's been invited, but not too much inventory that at the end of the event, you are rebuilding pallets and waiting for inventory to be picked up. The more precise you are with outreach and engagement, the more information you will have to strengthen this process. One recommendation that helps is having people RSVP when possible. If the event is open to the general public, it's important that you share that resources may be first come, first serve, and you'll do your best to serve as many people as possible. So just to kind of review what we discussed here today, you really want to think about the community's needs and their ability to participate. Making sure you have enough inventory on site and that the inventory matches the individuals you are trying to serve. And the biggest recommendation I have here is to look back, reflect, and learn from your previous events. The first one, like I alluded to, is going to be very time consuming, but allocating enough time that you feel comfortable implementing this type of intervention, and then taking time to reflect back following the event. That is all the technical information that will be provided today. Just kind of reading back through, Nafia dropped another comment in the chat. Love this. Making sure you have dedicated teams and volunteers to specific booths or for specific products. Maybe stronger people can be helping with heavier items. That is wonderful. Making sure people are switching. I love that approach. Yeah, if this is a 2 or 3 hour event, you don't need to have the same person doing the same task over and over again. You can maybe have them work on a task for a half an hour or an hour and have them rotate through different tasks. Again, we want to be conscious of barriers people may have with accessibility or ability to lift heavy items, etc. So making sure that there's accommodations for everyone who's wanting to participate, both for staff and volunteers. Walkie-talkies, wonderful. Yes, you want to make sure that people are available and ready. Sometimes people aren't able to access their phone to text or call, so having kind of a walkie-talkie accessible so a forklift can come over or more of this type of resource can be brought to a certain area. All wonderful additions. Thank you for the feedback, Nafia. Christian dropped a question in the chat. Would love to hear if there are other barriers or limitations that people are facing when thinking about planning one of these events. Nafia shared some wonderful highlights. It would also be great to hear, Nafia, if you faced any barriers outside of what was shared here today.
I'll just chime in since this one might be kind of difficult to pop in, but I will say, particularly for us, with our very first one, it was here in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is the capital. We worked closely with the Highway Patrol and local law enforcement because we were concerned about traffic backups. And so we really they were extremely helpful because that didn't end up becoming a sort of problem in helping us move traffic so that we didn't create huge backups where we were. And so that was something that we used throughout for all of the events, because these were initially car events, although they've switched to walkthrough events, but still parking traffic is a concern. So making sure that you're partnering with local um, law enforcement, highway patrol, to make sure traffic flows and you don't get a call from them having you shut down because you backed up traffic for miles. So
Oh, that's perfect. Nafia, just so everyone's aware, what kind of scale, the number of people you were serving, or how large of the community were you serving?
these were huge. So we started the big pop up in 2020, and uh I want to say for reference, like our first one, we were serving like hundreds of families, so we've served
Wow.
thousands across the state. Nearly all of our agencies either partnered or participated and hosted one in their local communities. Even for the smaller, in quotation, smaller
Yeah.
events, we still were over 500 families served at each one. um, and there was such a need. The law having the traffic support was key, because for instance in Raleigh, at our there's a local arena where our Hurricanes, the hockey team, plays.
Uh-huh.
People were lined up at 2 a.m. And the event wasn't set to start until 10 o'clock that morning. And we were forced by Highway Patrol to start early because traffic was backing out of the parking lot by 6. So um, also being able to be flexible, so making sure you have plans in place beforehand so that you can be flexible. So it wasn't a problem for us to start early because we had the support there. Um, and we had volunteers sign up for specific teams, and then we had a large volunteer meeting where they met their team leads, and then
Right.
they got put in place and had another meeting there, so everything over coordinated. As much structure as possible.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. That's wonderful insight, and congratulations on the great work you did in the community. Nafia, are you integrating any of the diaper distributions into that type of approach? Is that something your organization's looking into?
So we haven't, for this, we have had community events so far with nearly all of our agencies that are taking part. And some of them did tie the day with the day that families would be coming in to pick up their diapers,
Right.
but not all of them did. And a lot of it was about profile raising. So we took some of those tips and made it, a part of that as well, but not at the scale of the big pop-ups that we did.
Yeah.
That we created a whole toolkit that we use, that we reference back to, um, for planning. But for the diaper program, we haven't had that yet. Actually, the big pop-up is how we kind of, as a network, got the idea of providing diapers, because we actually partnered with our diaper bank during that towards the
Wonderful.
end, to distribute diapers at some of the events, and that just helped. um, it was a learning opportunity for working with other, particularly how to get the sizing right for people driving through, because we wouldn't have notice of the sizes needed beforehand.
Yeah.
um, so your point about paper documents, and we had surveys that people filled out so that at the beginning of the line they could fill that out. The diapers were at the end, so we could get the right sizing for them by the time they got there if it was a need. So um, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate the insight. And I'm reading back through some of your comments, Nafia. You noted that people had their trunks open so they could drive up and easily get items put in the back. We did something similar with air purifiers for childcare centers in a local county. And the childcare center representatives would drive through with their trunks open, and just an easy checklist that you are who you say you are, here's the item, and continue on your way, trying to make that flow of process as easy and quick as possible. Mary, great question. Has anyone heard if large-scale distributions like this is allowable? We've reached out to OCS, but still haven't gotten clarity on this. I don't know. I would assume so. It looks like Melissa is typing. Feel free to come off chat if people are in a quiet space as well. I really want to create a culture of just openness here to share. We know, I can speak about what we know. We know that these are all pilot programs. We know that the intent is to serve people on an ongoing basis. But I think there is no limitation on how that approach is designed. So I think if you wanted to use an event like this, Mary, where it's kind of like a recruitment engagement, where you're trying to raise awareness in the community and invite people in, I think that can be approach to get people connected to services that they then are receiving on a more regular basis. And Melissa, I think that's a big barrier to these types of events, right? Is data collection. And so if this is used as like a recruitment piece, maybe that data collection is used at a later date, or you make it part of the eligibility requirement that they have to fill out this survey in order to have access to diapers. And maybe that person is just a one-time touch point, but it could really increase the likelihood of participation in other programs. I hope I didn't skate too far around answers. I'm trying to be as honest and transparent as possible. Yeah, 100%, Mary. The ongoing basis part, so it makes us hesitate. Yeah. Does anyone else have insight on this? I'd love to hear how others have thought about this or have not thought about this. What I continue to hear from ACF is that everyone is doing, not everyone is doing, there are many different approaches to how this program is being run. And so I think if you can make a case for why you utilized resources this way and had intent, the outcomes will show themselves. And so I think taking what your organization and community thinks will be most beneficial and trying to leverage that into this type of program or pilot intervention. And I hope that this would be allowable because this is a training that ACF wanted us to put on and to discuss. It's something that they shared as a type of intervention that can be done within diaper distribution. So we can circle back and maybe we'll drop Mary and Melissa a note if we get some clarification with ACF. We meet with them on a weekly basis, and I can try to get some more details for you all. You're welcome. Anything else on this topic? I hope that it was helpful. Hope it made you think through, all of the added benefits that can come from connecting with different partners, to increasing resources, to making this a high energy, high fun time, to also the limitations, to data, to actual implementation, to the items that Mary and Melissa are discussing about allowable costs and how do you continue to engage with these individuals following this. So Christian just dropped her email address. I believe she'll be dropping a survey link as well if you feel comfortable giving us a little bit of feedback. We would love to hear what topics would be more beneficial or areas that I missed, anything like that. We're really open to continuing to curate content that is helpful to you all and furthers the work that you are doing. So want to be really respectful of time. We've already spent almost 45 minutes together. I really appreciate Nafia coming off and chatting with us, and Mary and Melissa sharing, and Jana showing up. It's great to see faces and great to connect with everyone. So if nothing else is needed, like I said, feel free to reach out. Christian will be sharing, via email, the survey will come. So we'd really appreciate the feedback. And if nothing else, have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll be chatting soon. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you, Justin. Have a great day, everybody.
You
Bye.